There is a Greek myth that serves as the perfect nightmare for the modern worker. The gods condemned Sisyphus to a punishment they believed was the most terrible of all, futile and hopeless labor. His task was simple. He had to push a massive rock up a steep mountain. He would strain, sweat, and struggle for days to inch this boulder toward the summit. But just as he was about to reach the top, the weight would become too much, and the rock would roll all the way back down to the bottom. Sisyphus would then have to walk back down the plane and start again. Forever. There is no end. There is no reward. There is only the rock. When we hear this story, we shudder because we recognize the pattern. We see Sisyphus in the traffic jam on Monday morning. We see him in the laundry that needs to be done again. We see him in the spreadsheets that never end. The myth of Sisyphus is the myth of the daily grind. It is the terrifying realization that life is largely composed of repetitive tasks that seem to lead nowhere. You wash the dishes so you can eat off them, so you can dirty them, so you can wash them again. The universe seems to be a cycle of endless, pointless effort. This realization brings us to the edge of what the French philosopher Albert Camus called the absurd. It is the moment when the stage sets collapse, when the why arises, and we are left staring at the raw, mechanical nature of our existence. In 1942, in the middle of the carnage of World War II, Albert Camus wrote a book titled The Myth of Sisyphus. He begins with the most famous opening line in 20th century philosophy. There is but one truly serious philosophical problem, and that is suicide. Camus wasn't being morbid, he was being logical. He argued that before we ask whether the sun revolves around the earth or whether atoms have mass, we must first answer, is life worth living? If the universe has no inherent meaning, if we are just biological accidents pushing rocks on a dying planet, then why do we continue? Camus defined the absurd as the conflict between the human hunger for meaning and the unreasonable silence of the world. We scream, why? And the universe says nothing. Camus argued that people usually solve this tension in one of two ways. First, they commit physical suicide, which he rejected. Second, they commit philosophical suicide. This is when you invent a religion, a utopia, or a hope for the next life to pretend that the rock doesn't exist. You tell yourself, I am pushing this rock because God wants me to, or I am pushing this rock so I can retire. You defer your life to the future. Camus rejected this too. He wanted to know if a man could live without hope, without appeal to a higher power, and simply exist in the tension of the absurd. He wanted to look the rock in the eye and say, yes. Camus was fascinated by a specific moment in the myth, the return. The rock has rolled away. Sisyphus has to walk back down the mountain to retrieve it. Camus calls this the hour of consciousness. When Sisyphus is pushing the rock, he is just an animal in pain. He is all muscle and sweat. But when he is walking down, he has time to think. He sees the extent of his misery. He knows he will never win. To most, this would be the moment of ultimate despair. But to Camus, this is the moment of victory. Why? Because Sisyphus is awake. The gods wanted to crush him with the futility of his task, but by looking at his fate clearly, by understanding it fully, he transcends it. Camus writes, there is no fate that cannot be surmounted by scorn. By accepting his punishment, Sisyphus claims it as his own. The rock is no longer a curse sent by the gods. It is his rock. The struggle is his struggle. In that walk down the hill, Sisyphus realizes that he is stronger than his rock because he is conscious of it, while the rock is just a rock. He finds a strange, silent dignity in doing the work simply because it is there to be done. This leads us to the shocking conclusion of the book. After describing the horror of the punishment, Camus writes, one must imagine Sisyphus happy. How? How can a man in hell be happy? Because happiness in the absurd is not about winning. It is not about reaching the top of the mountain and staying there. Happiness is the act of rebellion itself. Every time Sisyphus puts his shoulder to the boulder, he is saying, "I am still here." He is spitting in the face of a meaningless universe by creating his own meaning. The meaning is not in the destination, the meaning is in the push. This is the ultimate motivationairy lesson. We are all Sisyphus. You will never finish your laundry forever. You will never answer every email. You will never complete your life. If you are waiting for the rock to stay at the top to be happy, you will be miserable forever. But if you can fall in love with the push, if you can find joy in the discipline, the friction, and the effort itself, then you are free. The gods cannot punish a man who enjoys the punishment. The universe cannot break a man who finds joy in the struggle. Camus teaches us that we don't need a cure for the absurd. We need to live within it. We need to realize that the struggle itself toward the heights is enough to fill a man's heart. Your rock is your purpose. Push it and smile.